Good evening, everyone. Hello, and how are you today? Well, I hope you're doing very well. Yes, I hope you've enjoyed the beginning of your weekend. Yeah, your Saturday off. Yes, hello, Wilson, Nina. Welcome, Emma. Nice to have you here. And Rita, Cheng, Yo-Yo, everybody. Yeah, good to have you all here. We got a pretty good-sized class, actually. Yeah, especially for a Saturday night. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we're going to learn today something very practical for a weekend. Why? Well, because on a weekend we like to visit with family and with friends, and sometimes on those occasions when we get together, what do? Well, perhaps we open a bottle of wine. Yeah. And you know, there are certain rules of conduct when it comes to wine drinking and wine tasting, isn't there? Yeah. Hello, Ian. Welcome, Coral. Okay, well, that's what we're going to look at. Wine tasting etiquette, an introductory guide. So we're going to look at some of the basics. Now, before we begin, let's just kind of reaffirm the meaning of this word etiquette. What does etiquette mean, everybody? Can somebody briefly tell me what etiquette refers to? Yeah, what is that? Yeah, absolutely, Emma, Charlene, Wilson. Okay, we're talking about manners, rules of conduct, right? Or social behavior. Yeah, the right things to do. Okay, you know what? There's many different kinds of etiquette. You have business etiquette, right? You have dining etiquette, and we throw onto the list wine tasting. All right? Okay, so that's what we're going to take a look at. And as we go through this lesson, I'd like you to keep a couple things in mind. First of all, we are all at different levels of English in this class. Yeah, so in order for everybody to enjoy it, I'm going to have to speak quite slowly. Okay? So if you're wondering why, that's the reason why. If you have any questions, though, please don't hesitate to ask, because we love questions and we love your participation. All right, let's take a look at our introduction. Classy social events, such as wine tastings, involve an etiquette that has unique traditions. Many who attend a tasting for the first time could use a rundown of the do's, don'ts, and how-tos. Yeah, the do's and don'ts, the things we should or should not do. It is also a good chance to learn some phrases and vocabulary in the world of wine and wine tasting. So that's what we're going to focus on, is the phrases and the vocabulary. We're going to start with an old Latin saying. Yeah. It is well to remember that there are 5 reasons for drinking: the arrival of a friend, one's present or future thirst, the excellence of the wine, or any other reason. Yeah. In other words, wine's just a good reason in itself to have a drink. All right, some people love wine. Now, Wilson, you said, what's the meaning of run down here? Run down. Where did we read that? Run down, such as wine. 10 for the first time. Oh, to use a rundown. Ah, a rundown. That's a good question. Here, let me show you. Oh, this thing just doesn't work very well anymore. There we go. Let's say that this right here is a list. Okay? Let's say it's a shopping list. Now, as you go shopping, what do? You go through the list, but we have a special phrase for that. We say, run down the list, because the action you're doing with your eyes is you're running down the list. So when you run down the reasons, You're just going through the list. Okay? Good question though, Wilson. All right, number 3. Share the wine. Sometimes at wine tastings, the bottles of wine are on the table and guests pour it themselves. Instead of thinking about when you're going to go for another pour, linger a while with the wine you are tasting and chat a bit with others at the table. There's nothing wrong with going back for a 3rd or 4th taste, but it's quite a turn-off when the same person keeps reaching for the bottle. When you are ready for another pour, offer some wine to another person at least once. This will create a friendly, enjoyable atmosphere. Wine tasting is a communal activity where all have the chance to share the wine as well as the experience of the taste. Okay, so, in other words, take your time with it. Yeah. What would you think if you were to watch a movie on TV, okay? You're watching a movie, but you watch it in fast forward. Do you ever watch a movie in fast forward? No, you can't do that. Why not? Well, you're not going to enjoy the movie, are you? Yeah, you need to watch the movie at normal pace, regular speed. You know what? It's the same with wine tasting. You can't rush it. Yeah, it's far more enjoyable and you get more out of it if you take your time. Okay? All right. Well, what do we mean by a communal activity? What is that? Anybody know what a communal activity is? What do you think? What's a communal activity? Yeah, exactly, Charlene. Ian, absolutely. Yeah, we're talking about activities of a social or community. Of a social or communal nature. Yeah. Held within the community. Yeah. Interaction with people. That's all we mean by that. Okay. Any questions so far? No, it's all pretty straightforward. Okay, good. Experience every sip. Wine tasting is not drinking. It is about the tasting. Try to get into the right frame of mind. One of the most important instruments for this event is your taste buds. Focus on what flavors you are recalling as the wine rolls around your palate. Separate the elements of its intricate bouquet and detect the subtle notes. Yeah. Every wine deserves a chance, even the less expensive varieties. Try not to swallow hastily, and certainly don't chug it as if the host is serving plonk. Use the time to sharpen your skills at separating and defining unique flavors. Now let's take a look at a few of these words here. Let's start with the word palate. What's a palate, everybody? What is that? What is your palate? Okay. Well, basically, there's two definitions. Okay? There's the physical, the anatomy. Yeah. It's the roof of your mouth. All right? There's a bony portion at the top of our mouth. Okay? There's also a hard palate and a soft palate, okay? But that's all a part of the roof of your mouth. So let's start with that one. All right? One is the roof of your mouth. By the way, in America they'd say roof of your mouth, okay? But Canada and England and Australia, it's roof. All right, the second part is your sense of taste. Yeah, simple as that. Okay, that's the palate we're talking about, is your sense of taste. What about a bouquet? What's a bouquet? Perhaps you've heard of a bouquet of flowers. Yeah? So it's a collection of flowers, but there's also another kind of a bouquet. And this bouquet refers to this right here, to the fragrance of something. The fragrance or smell of something. The bouquet. Notes. Subtle notes. Perhaps notes might make you think of music, right? And each note has a slightly different sound to it, right? Well, it's the same with the notes of a wine. They have slightly different flavors. Okay? Now, what does intricate mean? Intricate means very complicated. Okay? Very complex. That's intricate. Complex. Lots of great questions, everybody. Rita says, what is the meaning of fragrance? Fragrance refers to the smell or aroma of something. Yeah. That's a nice fragrance, right? When you put on perfume, that's a fragrance. Yeah. When you open up your old gym bag and you smell your socks that have been in there for a month, oh, that's not a fragrance. That's a smell. That's a stink. Okay? All right, very good. Fragrance usually refers to a positive, good smell. All right? Okay, very good. Varieties. Well, that's easy, right? Variety means many different kinds. Many different kinds. Now it says, don't chug it. Yeah, what do we mean by chugging? Well, you can take a sip, or you can just put it back and let it all go down. Well, you see, that's called chugging. Yeah, we do that with water when we're really thirsty. We chug. All right? The word plonk. Have you ever heard this word plonk? Now, I would understand if you haven't, because it's not a word that many English speakers, native speakers, know. Because we don't use it a lot. That's why. But plonk is basically cheap or inferior wine. Yeah, it's of poor quality. Exactly, Charlene. We call it plonk. Okay, excellent. Good questions, you guys. Spit buckets. Now, just so you know, there's an actual name for these spit buckets. You will sometimes find during a wine tasting, my apologies for that line that always shows up. I don't know why, but it's happening all the time these days. Yeah, I can't draw a picture without that line showing up somehow. I'm not sure why. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to explain it. A spittoon. It's like a brass container usually. It's round, it's open at the top, and it comes down, right? And it's for spitting in, okay? And it's called a spittoon. Spittoon. Yeah. And it's meant for when people taste wine. Take a look at the reading. It says, when one considers wine tasting etiquette, a sticking point that is hard to overcome is the spit bucket. How can cultured people be so crass as to spit out wine into a bucket and remain unfazed during this social activity? Well, strange as it may seem, the spit bucket is an accepted part of tasting etiquette. People often spit because they're tasting many varieties and they don't want to become inebriated. We'll talk about that word in a moment. Also, getting tipsy can impair your ability to tell the wines apart. Whichever reason you have for spitting, it is perfectly acceptable etiquette. Just remember to stand clear when others spit. All right. Now we have a word there up at the top. It mentioned the word crass. Okay? Now notice the context. It says, people be so crass. How can people be so crass? Okay, so what does it mean to be crass? What do you think? Does the word gross come to mind? Yeah? Because that's basically what it is. Gross, or without refinement, delicacy, or sensitivity. Yeah, crass. Okay. Inebriated. Can somebody tell me what it is to be inebriated? What does that mean? To be inebriated. What do you think? To be intoxicated or drunk. Yeah, inebriated. Now, it's not an easy word to say, is it? So the next time the police officer pulls you over and says, "Have you been drinking tonight, sir?" You say, "No, sir, I'm far from being inebriated." And they'll look at you and they'll go, "Yeah, he must be sober if he can say inebriated." Okay, very good. No, it doesn't mean to be addicted to, Charlene, to be inebriated. No, not at all. Nope, it just means you've had too much to drink. Yeah, you're a little tipsy. You're a little drunk. All right, very good. So, spit buckets are allowed. Just try to be careful when you do the spitting. Yeah, you want to make sure you hit your target. Okay, let's take a look at number 6. What might you do when tasting wine instead of just quickly pouring another glass for yourself? What did we learn, everybody? What might you do when tasting wine instead of just quickly pouring another glass for yourself? What can you do? Do you remember the suggestions? Emma says chat with others. Absolutely. So you take your time, right? Yeah. Okay, yes. Share with others. Remember to offer, right? Okay, good. Excellent. Remember that it is a communal activity. Okay, excellent. Yeah, even pour for others. Absolutely. Pour for others. Yeah, that's the gentlemanly thing to do, the kindly and mannerly thing to do. Right, Nina? Perfect. What is one of the most important instruments for this event? Yeah. What is one of the most important instruments for this event? Yeah. Well, it's an instrument that comes standard with every human. Yes, this instrument is standard with every human. Yeah, it's called a palate. Okay? All right. Now, Judy, you have a good point. She says you need a good wine glass, and you know you're right. And we're going to come back to that point a little later in the lesson. Yeah, I have a little surprise for all of you, okay? All right. What can impair your ability in wine tasting? What can impair your ability? How about having too much, right? Yeah, getting tipsy, Charlene says. Getting tipsy. Okay, very good. You could get sick too. Okay, Nina, absolutely right. You know, have you ever noticed with wine, They'll also serve cheese. Do you know why they serve cheese with wine? The cheese helps to cleanse the palate so that you can taste the new wine. Yeah, you have a sip of one kind of wine, you figure out all the tastes, then you have a bit of cheese, that cleanses your palate of all those flavors, and now you have a new wine. Yeah, and then you won't get the residuals from the former wine because the cheese has taken it away. Exactly. Number 7, what to expect. Yeah, you could drink a little bit of water, Nina. It's true. Generally, most tasting rooms charge a small fee to taste a flight of wines. Some wineries make dozens of wines in their tasting room, maybe pouring several of them. Others only produce 1 or 2 wines, and therefore you may only get to taste one with the offer of another taste at a price. Most of the wines they offer are usually available for purchase in the tasting room if you like something. Okay, has anybody here ever enjoyed wine tasting or tours at a winery? Yeah. Have you ever done that? Huh? Has anybody ever been to a winery? Okay, very good. You've been to one? Yeah, they're very interesting. Yes, but not in France, Wilson? Well, there's a lot of great wineries all over the world. Yeah, you know, in Canada, they have in the Okanagan many wonderful wineries. It's an interesting part of the country. Okay, flight. A flight is basically a selection. A selection. Okay? Now, it mentioned in here that they will give you the first taste for free and then another taste at a price. Or what you can do is pay a price and they'll give you a variety of maybe 8 or 10 different kinds of wine, just little shots. All right? Okay, excellent. Number 8, attending a wine tasting. If you are attending a wine tour, then of course the times and dates are unadvertised, but wine tasting at individual wineries is arranged differently. According to each owner, there may be daily tastings on a walk-in basis, especially during tourist season. Others may have less employees or time and therefore have seasonal tasting hours or require an appointment. Then there are others that offer no tasting or tours whatsoever. Yeah, they kind of let their wine stand on its own, and it gains popularity if it is truly a great wine. Number 9. Here's some facts. 1 barrel of wine makes about 1,200 glasses. Yeah. I think I'd only need maybe 1 or 2 barrels. Yeah. The second one. A ton of grapes equals 720 bottles of wine. You get a lot of wine from those grapes, but that's a lot of grapes. Each bottle of wine contains the juice of about 1.2 kilograms of grapes. Okay, so there are some interesting facts. Now, do you know how? A part of etiquette is knowing how to taste wine properly. Others will appreciate your attendance when they know you will appreciate the wine just as much as they do. If other attendees aren't sure how to go about it, learn from these next few slides and show off your tasting skills. Now, Wilson says, do the wineries use oak barrels to store the wine? You know what, Wilson? It depends on the kind of wine that they're making. But many do, Wilson, because the wine absorbs the oak flavor. It enhances the taste of the wine. Some wines that have been left a little longer in oak barrels, when you smell the bouquet, remember that's the word we learned, the smell, the fragrance. When you smell the bouquet, you will recognize that hint of oak. Now, how do people talk about their wine tasting skills? Well, here's an example. It had the taste of an apple peeled with a steel knife. That's pretty descriptive, isn't it? It kind of gives you a mental idea of what it tasted like. Yeah, we know the taste of steel, right? Yeah. And an apple. So it would be kind of a crisp taste, maybe a little bit acidic. This was a description given by Sebastian Barnack in a book written by Aldous Huxley entitled Time Must Have a Stop. He was assessing a Rozier 1916 champagne. Yeah, my apologies if I mispronounced this French wine, okay? It's likely a region in Champagne. All right. Number 11. The four-step method. The four-step method. Appearance. First, check the intensity of color by looking through the wine against a white background, such as a tablecloth or napkin. Tilt the glass and change positions a few times to catch the light. Red wines become less intense as they age. White wines get darker. Next, give the glass a light swirl. Notice the formations of lines as the wine settles into the glass. The lines that form are called legs. The more legs there are, the more alcohol there is in the wine. And you want it to have some good legs. Yeah. A good wine will typically have about 11% alcohol. Now, let me show you a couple of things here. Are you ready? Here's your surprise. Yeah. This is a wine glass. All right? Yeah, it's a fun little number, isn't it? Yeah, which means it's kind of pretty. All right? Would you agree? Yeah, this is a pretty unique wine glass, isn't it? Okay. This is what we call a fun wine glass. Yeah, but it isn't for serious wine tasters. No, no. Serious wine tasters will use this right here. Why? From what we just read, why would a serious wine taster use this wine glass? Can you tell me why? Any ideas? What do you think? Ah, Rita, absolutely. She says you have to check the wine color. Oh, very good, Wilson. Yes, it has a nice wide area in order to swish the wine around, which will work up the bouquet, so you can smell it and go, ah. You're able to see the legs, Charlene says. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you know what, Charlene? They have a little saying. Yeah. They say that a good wine glass is like a mini skirt. Yeah. You get to see more leg. Yeah. Yeah. You'll probably remember that one, right, Charlene? Okay, very good. So, that's why these kind of glasses are far superior, because you get to really make a good examination of the wine. All right, excellent. Now, let's take a look at slide number 12. The four-step method. A bouquet. Capture the fragrance of the wine by tipping the glass and putting your nose just above it and over it. So you tip the glass, you bring the wine closer to the edge, and it allows you to put your nose, without drinking it, and have a good smell, right? Now, if you smell anything moldy, that indicates contamination. Yeah. The cork will also be dry and crumbly. Okay? It means that some air was able to seep through that cork, and now the air has slightly contaminated the wine. Now, if it has just a little bit of a moldy smell, well, you might still be able to drink the wine, right? It still might be okay, because it has more of an earthy flavor to it. But if it has any kind of major contamination, the wine is ruined. Take a sip. That's the next step. You take just a little sip and swish it around in your mouth a few times. Some like to suck in the air or slurp as they sip to help evaluate the body or density and the alcohol content. If any of its acidity, sweetness, or alcohol are too prominent, then it is not well balanced. Okay, so now it might seem a little bit rude because we normally don't slurp, but at a wine tasting, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of a slurping sound. Yeah. Now, as you take that sip and swish it around, then what do you do? Yeah. What do you do after you've swished it around in your mouth? Any suggestions? Yeah, you spit it out into the spittoon, right? Okay, now that's if you're going to be tasting a lot of wines. If you're not going to be tasting a lot of wines, drink it. Enjoy it. Okay, good. Any questions so far? Yeah? No questions? Okay, number 13. The finish. After you swallow or spit the wine out, there will be a change of taste on your palate. There shouldn't be an alcohol taste, but the flavor should slowly fade. The slower, the better. Yeah. Another thing to consider is whether this wine fits well under its category. What kind of foods would you pair it with? Now you are ready to properly taste wine and begin building your repertoire. All right, now let's talk about different kinds of foods with wine. If you were going to have maybe a fish, okay, or some Alfredo, fettuccine Alfredo, then a white wine might go well, especially with fish. They say white meats, like chicken and fish, right, that those are good wines for white. They match up very well. Yeah, absolutely. The Alfredo, well, it's a lighter pasta. But if you're talking about regular pasta, like a bolognese or something like that, then that would be good with a red wine. And when you have red meats, stick with red wine. Yeah. Red meats have a bolder flavor, don't they? And so they need a bolder tasting wine. Absolutely. What does the word repertoire mean? What does the word repertoire mean? It's a French word. Can anybody tell me what it means? Any ideas? Repertoire. Judy says skills. Well, yeah, but the word doesn't really mean skills. You can have a repertoire of skills. Anybody know what that word is, though? Yeah? Any suggestions? Yeah, sometimes you can just get the meaning just by the context of it, right? Okay, you know what? A repertoire could be a list of music that you have mastered. Okay? Now that's one meaning. So a repertoire is basically a collection a collection of skills, all right? In this particular instance, a collection of something is a repertoire. Yeah, very good. I'll give you an example. Let's say I am a piano player, but I only know classical piano. I would like to increase my repertoire, so I will learn some ragtime. I'll learn some rock and roll. Ah, you see, now I'm adding to the list of things that I can do. Okay, so Judy, it is related to skills. You're absolutely right. But it's a collection or list of those. Okay, good. Here's the vocabulary that we've learned in this lesson. To linger. To linger. To delay or put off leaving somewhere. Yeah, so we want to linger over our wine, right? Now here's how we could use it. Yeah, we could say, our teacher likes to linger over his coffee in the morning. Yeah, I like that. Just sitting there with a nice hot cup of Java or Joe. Yeah, just linger over it. Take your time with it. All right? Communal. Used or shared by a group of people. Yeah. The communal pool. That's the pool that's shared by the community. Excuse me. A palate is a personal sense of taste. A bouquet is the pleasant smell of a wine or any other pleasant smell. Okay? So you can only use bouquet with a positive smell. Now you can't say, oh, what a lovely bouquet of gym socks. No, that doesn't work. Yeah, you have to use the negative words that refer to smell. Yeah, like odor. Variety, as used in winemaking, the different species of grapes. Plonk is cheap wine, and it's kind of swank. If you are inebriated, then it means you are drunk or intoxicated. A flight, as used in winemaking, is a selection of different wines. Contaminate means to make dirty or impure, to introduce a substance that should not be there, like air. Repertoire. I know, it sounds funny just saying it, doesn't it? But that's French. Repertoire. The range of techniques, abilities, or skills that somebody has. All right, does anybody have any questions about these words? No? Well then, let's make a few sentences. All right? Let's start with the word communal. Can you make me a sentence using the word communal, everybody? Can you do that? How about this right here? They held a town hall meeting for the communal concerns. Communal concerns. Concerns that people have as a group. How could you use that word communal in a sentence, everybody? What do you think? How can we use the word communal in a sentence? Go ahead and give it a try. Don't worry about your spelling or your grammar, okay? We'll take care of that. What do you think, Wilson? Judy? Molly? Rita? Charlene? Nina? Ah, here's a few. Ah, Wilson. Very good. Okay, this is what Wilson said. Wilson, that's a good example, my friend. He said, the communal park was built for the citizens of this community. Now, you're absolutely right. However, there's no necessity for mentioning community because you've already mentioned it's a communal park. Was built for the citizens of Taipei, for example, okay? Excellent. Nicely done, Wilson. Very nicely done. Anybody else? Very good. You say, I am used to communal living. Yeah. Very nicely done, Judy. Yeah, excellent. Emma. This is Emma's sentence right here. Okay. Emma. Now, I understand what you're saying, Emma, and you've got the right idea. We would say this building is communal property. Okay? Communal property. In other words, it belongs to the town. Very nice, Emma. Wilson says this right here. Oh, he said, thanks for the condensing of my sentence. Hey, no worries, Wilson. Yeah, this is how we know how to best use these words. Okay, we might have time for a few more sentences, so let's switch words. Let's use the word bouquet. Bouquet. Now, how could we use it? Well, let's start by using it this way. We could say, Emma had on a perfume with an amazing bouquet. Okay? Yeah, in other words, your perfume smelled great. Okay? All right. Anybody have any ideas of how we could use that word bouquet in a sentence? Sean, they are discussing communal things. Yeah, or communal concerns, Sean. Very good. Here, let me write that down, Sean. That was a nice example. He says they are discussing communal things or communal concerns. Okay, nicely done. And Charlene says, these two countries. Very good. Charlene, I would not have thought to use the word that way, but it makes absolute sense because it is part of the shared oceans. Beautiful job, Charlene. Nicely done. Ian, excellent use of the word bouquet. This is what Ian said right here. He said this wine has a special bouquet. Nicely done, Ian. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Nina, this is Nina's sentence. She says, I like a rose, you have to say a rose bouquet in the wine. Right? In the wine. A rose bouquet in the wine. Yeah, very nicely done. Okay, good. Oh, did that, here, let's see. There we go. That's better. Disappeared on me. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about today's lesson? What do you think? Oh, Wilson, nice example. No questions? Okay, here's Wilson's example. The chef makes the dishes a very nice bouquet with basils. Okay. The chef makes the dishes with a nice bouquet of basil. Yeah, just one basil, okay? Very nicely done. You guys, you have done a superb job today. I think we're all ready to go wine tasting, okay? So we're going to go on a trip to France, all of us. Yeah, we're going to go on a wine tour, and we're going to send the bill to TutorABC. All right? Yeah, you're all invited. Okay, very nice to have you. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Oh, by the way, everybody, we learned about wine. Would you like to learn a little bit about beer? Well, in 1 hour, I have another special session on beer. come on back. Yeah, we'll learn about it together. You're welcome. See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.